Well, it's been a long time since I've just spent a good chunk of time working in the vegetable garden, and it is long overdue. There are a bunch of things that I need to get done here. So here's the list that I would like to get done today. One, I got to do some cleaning out. The tomatoes are done. All the leafy greens still growing just great. We still haven't had a frost here, very close, but we haven't had one yet. So cleaning out beds. Making room in particular for perennials and shrubs that I still need to transplant from the area where we're having some septic work done in a month or so. I'm going to overwinter those here in the raised beds, and then in spring I'll be able to use them again, but I do need to get on top of that. I need to harvest the turmeric and ginger. We will see how that went. That is going to be a total surprise. I need to get some garlic planted, and oh, there's a few weeds that I might deal with if I have time, and I need to do one more or two more little support things on the Belgian fence if we have time. So no time like now to just get cracking. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring over anything to put any tomatoes that I can save from here. Most of them are shot, and the few peppers I'm going to pull out of here, so I'm just going to use a pot for now. I'll clean it up later. By the way, the Florida weave method that I used worked great this year, but when you take your tomatoes down, you got a lot of twine to deal with, which is why I learned a long time ago to make sure to use natural twine that will disintegrate in the compost, because I can't tell you how many times I'm still pulling out nylon string out of there. So now I am just going to quickly do a rough chop on this stuff, because I'm going to put this in my compost pile. Now you might be thinking you can't put tomatoes into your compost pile, and that's the way I did it for a long time. And then I talked to Lee Reich. Lee Reich has written several great books, many of which I have, and I've interviewed him before for the blog, but he's written a lot of books on composting. He is a soil scientist, has PhD. He is a man who knows his stuff. And what he is more than anything is an absolute amazing composter. So Lee will put literally anything in his compost that is made of natural materials. He puts shoes in his compost. He puts jeans in his compost. And yes, some of those things take, he said, like 20 years to break down. But he puts it all in there. And I asked him specifically, do you put tomatoes or other things that could be harboring disease in your compost? And he said, absolutely. And he said he's been doing it like that for many, many, many years. And he said he has never once had a problem. So I sort of changed my tune on this, because a few years ago I would have told you, don't put this in your compost. I'm going to put this in my compost. Now I think Lee probably knows exactly what he's doing with composting. So he probably has a fairly hot compost pile. That said, my compost bins get to about 140 degrees for at least a couple of weeks, if not more than that. So I can get some pretty good heat building up in my compost. And more, I just, I have a insatiable desire and need for compost, more so than I could ever make myself. But it's right here. It's frankly the easiest place to get rid of it. And it just seems so wasteful to me to throw all this good green stuff into a refuse pile somewhere. And because this is green, that's even better, because as you might imagine, we're going to have a ton of leaves to go in there soon. So this will be some great nitrogen to join that wonderful carbon layer from the leaves. And I'm just chopping this up to, the smaller the pieces, the faster it composts. So I just do sort of a rough chop on this stuff. It's going to take the time it takes, but I feel like as long as I'm here with this, might as well do it. Okay, you can see that I got both tomato beds, which is this one and this one, cleaned out. I also cleaned out this cut flower garden. And this one, these zinnias are still doing okay in this one, so I'm going to leave those because maybe I can cut those and bring those in. I did get a rather large collection of green tomatoes over here. So I don't know, maybe I'll try to make a green tomato chutney or something with those. I just figured I'd give it a shot. Okay, so now that I've gotten this bed cleaned out, you'll notice I still have some parsley and some thyme, and there's a little bit of rosemary down in this corner still growing there. I want to eat those as long as I possibly can, in particular the parsley. I can't tell you how much it irritates me to have to buy parsley in the grocery store. So last year what I did when I planted in the bed next to it, and I'm rotating, so that's why I'm going down to this bed this year, when I planted my garlic, was I left a little bit of an edge around it, and I put onions all around the perimeter, and it worked really, really well last year. So instead of around the perimeter, I'm just going to kind of plant this half of the bed, and then when I take those herbs out and I'm planting onions next year, I'll just stick the onions on that side. Now, quick note, I am planting both my own garlic that I grew last year and new garlic. Now, you guys look at the difference. This is, I believe both of these are Music, is the variety. It's a hardneck garlic. I grow only hardneck garlics. I think they're supposed to be better for our area. Any place you buy garlic from will have some advice in terms of what type of garlic you should be growing, hardneck or softneck. These came from Jung Seed, and they're huge. And I wish mine were bigger. So one of the things is that garlic is a heavy feeder. So I'm gonna mix in a lot of organic fertilizer right now. I don't think I did that last year, so I'm gonna see if we can't aim for more like this size versus this size. Garlic planting couldn't be easier. You've seen me do this before. You've probably seen a bunch of people do this before. Break your bulb up into individual cloves, put them pointy end up, plant them about 4 to 6 inches apart. I usually do like a hand width. And it's very interesting. There seems to be all of a sudden all kinds of differing opinions about how deep to plant these. I've always planted them about 4 inches deep. Basically, the depth of my finger is where they go. Like a lot of things in gardening, there's a lot of people who do a lot of different things, which just tells you that it's harder to screw it up if you do something different. Now for the most exciting job of the day. We are gonna harvest this turmeric and ginger. Now generally you're supposed to wait for them to start sort of yellowing, which they maybe have just tinged a little yellow, but we're getting pretty cold at night here, and I think it's time. I don't think they're really gonna do a lot more growing. So this is where we find out if my little experiment worked at all or not. Listen, I'm just happy to have grown these plants. I think the turmeric in particular is beautiful. And if we get a good harvest from it, well, that's just a bonus on top of it. So these are tropical plants that have a really long growing season. So these were started inside, I think in February or March. Really should have been started in January, but I got my seed garlic late. I don't think we're really gonna see it until we rinse these off, but, oh, we've got some turmeric in there. So far the ginger looks pretty skimpy, but there's some there anyway. Okay, so there's a wheelbarrow full of turmeric and turmeric. There's an R in there, and ginger, and now we have to rinse them off, and that's when we're really going to get a feel for how we did. Okay, here's the ginger harvest. Not bad. I'm going to cut all these leaves off. It just looks better with the leaves on. So we did have a couple of particularly, well, in my case, particularly good plants. Here's two of them. You can see all the nice fresh ginger, and again, this is the root that we started with. But isn't it beautiful? The pink, I mean, check out the pink color on it. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, are you guys ready to see the turmeric? You're not gonna believe it. Check this out. Isn't this the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen? Look at the color on this. It's the most, can you believe something that color comes out of the ground in your garden? Amazing. I don't think this is probably a particularly great harvest, but couple it with the fact that I think this is a beautiful plant and I would absolutely grow it probably just in my regular garden because it's such beautiful foliage. But then you pull this up and you have this. By the way, this is a great reason to grow new things and try new things, in part because if you have even the smallest success, it feels like a huge success. I can't get over it. I love it. Okay, so you might wonder, like, what's the plan for this? So for the turmeric, I think I'm going to dehydrate it and make it into turmeric powder. If you have a great recipe to use fresh turmeric, please let me know. I'd be interested in knowing. With the ginger, I think I'll eat a little bit of it fresh, and apparently you can keep it in the fridge for about 3 weeks, or you can actually freeze it. This is news to me. But more than likely I'm going to make pickled ginger out of it because I think homemade pickled ginger would be delicious. So I think that's my plan. Will I grow this stuff again? Oh yeah, this was super fun. Super fun. I got this. I think actually, you know, these are apparently heavy feeders. I didn't fertilize at all, so I think if I had actually fertilized, we could have had a better harvest. I think if I had started things earlier, could have had a better harvest. I mean, I think that the growing season, I think it's like 10 months from sprouting to harvest, which these obviously did not get that. And also, they didn't flower. A lot of times if they flower, that's when you know they can harvest after that. I don't anticipate I'll ever get flowers growing them here. I don't care about any of that. I am thrilled with what I accomplished with this. This was maybe the most fun thing I did in the garden this year. This or maybe the lotus. Apparently I'm just into pretending I live in a tropical climate now. Okay, so I actually, even though I wanted to do a few more things in the garden today, I think I'm gonna wrap it here. It's getting a little chilly, a little dark. The sun's gone behind a cloud. I'm gonna finish this up and we're sort of running out of time here. So why not end on this high note? And I feel great about what the garden is, what I got accomplished today, even though there's a few things not checked off the list. Pretty happy with how it's looking. Okay, I hope you're having a great day in your garden. Check it out. Think about growing something fun and different and exciting next year. All right, see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.